At this point, it is still very early. We're trying to gain more information on the ground, Jake.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is always a very difficult situation because right now we have reports of hundreds killed, and there's no reason to doubt that, but we don't know what caused it. We don't know who caused it. We don't know the situation under which this happened, and we're trying to bring the best information we can.
They are providing a lot of intelligence that they say that they have gathered, both conversations with Hamas militants and also pointing to some of the facts on the ground.
But why was there this reaction on the Arab street? It's because for some reason the news media ran out there and took the word lock, stock, and barrel of a Hamas ministry spokesperson, and of course it was an Israeli airstrike before there was any evidence.
At some point, you start to feel bad for the people in the mainstream media because they're so obviously anti-Israel that they're starting to take the word of terrorist organization. You almost feel bad for the people in the mainstream media. They are so anti-Israel that it blinds them. It's like Democrats and Republicans to them. When Democrats lie to them over and over and over again, they continue to go to them and trust them. This is the same thing. They hate Israel just like they hate Republicans. And Hamas is not Israel, so therefore they take the word of Hamas. And Hamas has lied to the media dozens of times over history, more than that actually. And they know it. They know they're an untrustworthy narrator. They just don't care. There are about 1 billion reasons not to trust what Hamas says. But they keep running back to them and acting as breathless propagandists for them.
The death toll is high, hundreds killed, according to Hamas officials on the ground. What we have seen, certainly in the past, is either an Israeli strike or an accidental strike, intentional or accidental, or a Hamas rocket launch that then falls short and lands, killing civilians, which we have also seen in past conflicts. So at this point, it is still very early. We're trying to gain more information on the ground, Jake.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is always a very difficult situation because right now we have reports of hundreds killed, and there's no reason to doubt that, but we don't know what caused it. We don't know who caused it. We don't know the situation under which this happened, and we're trying to bring the best information we can.
Well, you have no reason to doubt it, huh? Except for the fact that Hamas lies all the time. That's why you shouldn't run out there and do this. And now you have the entire world burning, and you're trying to figure out exactly why you should doubt Hamas. You should doubt Hamas because you're not supposed to be a dumbass. So Hamas has no credibility problem for Jake Tapper, but Israel has a credibility problem on CNN.
They are providing a lot of intelligence that they say that they have gathered, both conversations with Hamas militants and also pointing to some of the facts on the ground. One of the key pieces of information that they said that bolsters their claim is this idea that there was no crater on the ground. But amid all of this, we have already watched as the Arab world in particular has already made up their mind about the situation. And that is something that Israel is certainly fighting against. And they're fighting against it because they have had a credibility problem in the past, including with the killing of the journalist Shireen Abu Akleh last year, when the Israeli government initially claimed that it was Palestinian militants and not Israeli soldiers who fired on her. I asked the IDF spokesman that question. Among other incidents, the Israeli government initially claimed that it was armed Palestinian militants who killed the journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, which we know is not true. So why should the world trust you now?
Because of the importance of credibility. We took the time. It took us more than 5 hours. We wanted to double check everything, make sure we're credible. Again, we wanted to double check everything, make sure we're credible, opposed to the other events that you mentioned.
People are very angry, and of course nothing can be more embarrassing than a deliberate war crime of an Israeli airstrike killing civilians and killing innocent children and women. 500 victims and hundreds of other injured who could die at any moment. And let me tell you that what we believe is that, and we urge you to remember, that the Israeli military lied to the world on many occasions before changing their stories many times. A very good example of that was their denial of killing the American Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh.
Boy, they love hanging it on that. The Israelis are the ones that came back and said, yes, it was in fact an Israeli bullet that killed that journalist in the middle of a firefight. Yet they're hanging that on a credibility issue for the Israelis. Good Lord. Is their credibility worse than the credibility of Hamas? And the answer to that is obviously no. And they know that. But again, this is all just about propaganda to them. They didn't care if they'd have to walk this back. No harm, no skin off their back. But there is some real harm that does happen. And why? Because people die over this kind of stuff. This will get more people killed than the made-up 500. And by the way, the Palestinian legislator, does he come back on CNN and tell these lies again? I bet he does.
Now, to Ben's point, the reaction on the Arab street is a critical factor that's playing out at this hour. But why was there this reaction on the Arab street? It's because for some reason the news media ran out there and took the word lock, stock, and barrel of a Hamas ministry spokesperson. And of course, it was an Israeli airstrike before there was any evidence. Now, I agree. At this hour, we don't know. The IDF has put out a radar track showing that the missile from Islamic Jihad flew right over the hospital. They also say that there's a SIGINT intercept of Islamic Jihad fighters talking about firing this rocket. So we don't have the evidence. And I take the point earlier, we may never know. But the fact
I give him credit at the beginning of this, where he says the problem we're having is because the media took the word of Hamas, lock, stock, and barrel. That's true. That part's true. But all this other stuff, there's no evidence. And then he rattles off the evidence. We may never know. Yes, it's like when someone goes in and says Allah Akbar and shoots up a mall and beheads someone, we may never know. The media is willing to give more of a benefit of the doubt to terrorist organizations than they are the Israelis. Ask yourself, why don't people trust the media? And if you seriously are still asking yourself that question, I got to wonder what is wrong with you. The answer is simple. They're the enemy of the people. They're willing to take the words of terrorist organizations over people who have credibility. They don't care about the facts. They care about whatever their agenda is, and they mangle the facts to get there. That's what's happened here, and more people will die because of this.